going on?
Well, we're just having a great conversation about Deion Sanders apparently being a top candidate.
Yeah, Deion might want to get a new job. He got a house down here. It was in what was that? It was in not Little Elm, Prosper.
Okay.
Big ass house out there in Prosper years ago that he sold. So maybe he needs to go find a new one. But I just don't think Deion wants to coach in the pros. Because I remember he was on TV on Good Morning America, and Prime was saying, "Well, if I coach in the pros, I want to coach my sons, right?" Mm-hmm. So that would be Shador and Shiloh. So the Cowboys picked 12, right? 12th pick of the draft. Mm-hmm. So to get Shador, they would have to give up something, probably a lot really, to move up, to get in the top 5 to pick Shador. And then if you pick Shador, you're saying, okay, you're going to sit behind Dak for about 2 to 3 years, right? So I just don't see it. I don't see this as a realistic thing. I just see it as Jerry talking to Deion and maybe getting Deion's name out there.
So you explained it from Deion's point of view. From Jerry's, do you think it was, like you said it towards the end, just simply to get Deion's name out there? Do you think this was something that was boiling in the works? Because we got the news today that Mike McCarthy would not be returning. Then we get the news just hours later that he's already in talks with Deion Sanders. How much are you putting behind this, or is this just kind of like you said, just something to get Deion's name out there?
A little bit of both. I mean, I think Jerry is trying to, he's got a good relationship with Deion, and he also probably wants to hear what he has to say. I mean, the interesting thing about when you want to hire somebody for any job is you want to talk to as many people as possible, right, about your job and hear what they have to say about your vacancy, about your organization, about the people that are employed under you. So why not talk to Deion Sanders, right? He talks to players who are currently in the league. He's got a lot of college kids that are going to the league. So there's nothing wrong with talking to Deion. And, Deion has always expressed, to me or others that he's a college coach and he wants nothing to do with the pro game.
So why would Deion want to talk to Jerry then? I mean, when you say get his name out for what? When you got an ego, you got your name out there,
Well,
and everybody likes to be wanted, right?
True. Well,
everybody wants to, when you're at a certain age, you got your ego, you're losing your hair, you got to get a hair transplant, you dye the hair, you want to look good. So, my name is out there. Keeps the program out there.
Well, and then I guess the other part of it would be, too, is it might even help with recruiting a little bit, right? Is, hey, look, this guy, the NFL wants me, but I'm not going. I love Colorado. So, I don't know if that plays a factor in it at all. I'm just curious as to, and like I said, I've watched Deion, and I'm intrigued by Deion in a lot of different ways. My question is, the X and O side of Deion is, look, we know he's a motivator. We know, he can motivate from now until the cows come home. I just question Deion, the X's and O's, the schematic guy.
Well, he's not calling plays. He's not calling plays at Colorado.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't call plays at Jackson State. So he's got people for that.
Right.
His job at Colorado is recruit the players, promote the program.
Uh-huh.
That's what he's supposed to do.
Right.
So, but Deion knows more defense than any of us will ever know because
Absolutely.
he's a Hall of Famer. So, he knows what he's doing when it comes to defense. He knows he knows the techniques that you need to have at corner. But he pays Pat Shurmur to be his offensive coordinator. And you saw what they did offensively, right? So he did call plays in high school. Now that's a whole different animal,
right.
Obviously. But the reality is I'm not worried about X's and O's with Deion because his job is to recruit, promote the program, and manage the game, right? Now, the only negative I will say about Prime is that whether he was at Jackson State and even now at Colorado, when he went to the Celebration Bowl, which is the HBCU version of the national championship game, he lost both of those games.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the bowl game against BYU,
Got blown
and
out.
he lost that game, Right. So that would be my only issue with him is, when you get to the finale, the final game of your season, which is a bowl game or whatever you want to call it, you lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's something missing there in that, and that's not talked about enough. But Deion is great where he is. It's good, as I said, it's good that Jerry wants to talk to him, and there's nothing wrong with it.
And you're listening to Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. Last one on the Deion from my front. Hypothetically, if Deion were to be coming to the Dallas Cowboys, what you talked about him being a master recruiter and motivator. Mm-hmm. How well do you think that translates more specifically to the Cowboys? And then what kind of people would he need around him? Because you said he's not calling the plays. He has people doing that. Would he bring people from Colorado, a new staff? Just kind of how would you envision that if that were to happen?
Well, say you hire him with the Dallas Football Cowboys, right? I mean, Deion would have a veteran staff with him. I mean, he's a smart guy. At Colorado, he's got an NFL staff with him because he's trying to help kids get to the next level. And that's what he had at Jackson State. That's what he's got at Colorado. If he came into the Cowboys, he would get veteran guys that probably had won at the highest level to be on his staff. Now, Deion, he'll mix out some coordinators on you because that's what he did at Jackson State. That's what he did at Colorado from year 1 to year 2, right? So I think he would put a good staff together. I don't think putting a staff would be a problem for him.
Interesting. All right. So if Deion is just a conversation piece right now, like I said, it's a win-win for everybody involved as far as getting their name out. Kellen Moore's a name that's getting thrown out. Jason Witten's a name that's getting thrown out. We can only hope to God that Doug Peterson's not a realistic choice.
You like Dougie? You don't like Dougie?
Man, look, God, hey, look. We
McCarthy.
I was going to say we could spend a whole segment talking about coaches with rings, whether you want him here as a head coach or not. I mean, because look, you just got. I mean, here, let's be honest. I mean, is Doug Peterson? I mean. That's Mike McCarthy 2.0, is it not?
Well, there's a lot of Mike McCarthy 2.0s out there.
Well, right? I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and I guess that's my thing, right? Is that this is a weird situation if we really take a step back and look at it, okay? Because when we look at it, because look, you know he ain't getting Ben Johnson, all right? I mean, he's probably not going to get Aaron Glenn, especially if they go on a run, okay? So now you're talking about, okay, you ain't going to hire a coach for 3 more weeks? So now you're left with Jason Witten, who, okay, allegedly he's Dan Campbell 2.0. Okay, why? Because they were both white tight ends that played for the Cowboys? Like, I mean, what are we doing here as far as this goes? And it just feels like, are we convinced after watching the way the Cowboys have operated, hell, and you guys have been doing this a lot longer than I have here in Dallas, what makes us so certain that this team's going to get this right?
Well, I don't know if they can get it right because they haven't gotten it right since, Jimmy Johnson, And here's the thing. It's hard to win the NFL, right? It really is. The San Francisco 49ers, they're on a title drought too. Now the difference is they've gotten to at least NFC Championship game and a couple of Super Bowls, but they haven't won neither. Mike Tomlin, who just got blown away by Baltimore, hasn't won in a long. I think 2016 was the last time he won a playoff game. So teams go on droughts. This is, I would say abnormally long for the Cowboys as an organization. We could spend 6 hours talking about each hire that Jerry has made since Jimmy Johnson, right? I thought Mike McCarthy was a good hire at the time because he had won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes. But you know what? He had 5 years and couldn't do it. He asked for a contract extension. He lost to Green Bay.
Yeah.
They were the 2 seed. They were the 7th seed. And Jerry was like, I can't give you an extension.
Right.
He lost at home to Green Bay.
Yeah.
And then you saw what happened this past weekend where all the 2 seeds knocked off the 7 seeds. And then you're looking at the history of it, and the Cowboys are the only team that lost to a 7th seed at home.
Right. Only one.
So when people wonder, why are you giving to Mike McCarthy? Last year got rid of Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
That's what hurt Mike McCarthy. And if he would have got to the playoffs this year and gotten to, say, the divisional round or even the championship game, he would have got his extension.
Fair enough. All right. So when you look at the landscape of where things are at right now, and again, they're going to talk to Deion. We know there's probably going to be some other guys they talk to. And of course, like I said, now that they've waited a week and we got to wait and see kind of whether it is a Kellen Moore, these guys that are currently, their teams are still playing. What's an out of box type of idea you could potentially see the Cowboys working with?
The out of box to me is Deion, Jason Witten. Now I can envision Witten with somebody else. Like you hire Pete Carroll, right? And I know you guys don't like Pete Carroll. I can just tell in your voices. But they hired Pete Carroll, and then you hire Jason Witten. You make Witten your assistant head coach / tight end, or make him an offensive coordinator or whatever. And you have Witt learn under Pete Carroll. And then when Pete Carroll is ready to move on, then boom, you got Jason Witten ready to go. Similar to what they did with Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett, right? So that's one way you could do it. But that's the out-of-the-box hire to me. Deion's outside the box. And really, to be honest with you, like a week ago, I was talking to an agent who's a coaching agent, and he said this is not a very strong coaching class in terms of candidates, right? You look at all the candidates. You guys don't like Doug Peterson. We don't like Ron Rivera.
No.
We don't like Pete Carroll. Mike McCarthy's back out there.
I'm not
necessarily. Like Pete Carroll?
I don't mind Pete Carroll. I would be intrigued by Pete Carroll. I really, really would. Because and the reason why I would be intrigued by Pete Carroll, let's call it what it. Pete should have 2 Super Bowls, if we're being honest, right? And now, does that change does that change the conversation a little bit? If you got 2 versus 1, absolutely it does, right? And let's not forget, all right. You get a defensive coordinator already mixed in when you bring in a Pete Carroll, right? And with the group that this team's already got, so especially for a team that loves to quote draft and develop, and I like the fact that he took a year off, right? And sometime, of course, we heard that Mike McCarthy took a year off and was supposed to be some innovative dude. We didn't see that, but I'm not. I don't mind, to your point, the Jason Witten / Pete Carroll. Because what's Pete got? 3 years left, give or take? I mean, what's this dude, like 75? I mean, how much time do we really think this dude's got as a head coach? So I'm not opposed to the Pete Carroll idea. I'm really not. And plus, the guy brings a lot of energy, too.
He does bring a lot of energy. Yes, he should have, 2 Super Bowl rings, on his resume or whatever. He is 73, right? Now, I think he turns 74 next September.
Oof.
So he's going to be a 74-year-old man coaching Dallas Football Cowboys. Now, nothing against people in their 70s. Hey, my aunt's like in her 90s. But, like I said, if you hire Pete Carroll, you better have Jason Witten or somebody else waiting in the wings. Johnson, Glenn in Detroit, I think they're going to get their share of interviews. When Kellen Moore was here, the Cowboys, team officials told me they did not like his presence, meaning they didn't think he could lead a group of men. Right? That was about 3 years ago now. 3 years ago now. So now he went to the Chargers and the Eagles, so I'm not sure anything has changed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when people are trying to rubber stamp Kellen Moore, I just know Mike McCarthy couldn't wait to get him out of here. Yeah. And I remember people in the front office were telling us, well, we don't really like his presence. He doesn't walk around like when you see these people talk to the media, right? And then you see behind the scenes clips of them. Do you see a leader of men? Do you see a guy that, these guys are going to play for him?
Yeah.
Right? Do you see a Mike Tomlin? Do you see a Dan Campbell in these guys and how they interact with the team, interact with the media, and that kind of thing. So that's something that owners look at from time to time. So I don't know about Kellen Moore unless he's improved in that area over the last 2 years.
All right, real quick, we're up against it, and I've already blown past my break, but let me ask you this real quick. We got about 20 seconds. Mike Tomlin, he keeps getting talked about. Has he lived out his life over there in Pittsburgh? If for some crazy reason he became available, I think he'd be a no-brainer here in Dallas. A new start for this guy could work wonders, especially with the people that are already here. Do you think that would ever be a possibility? 20 seconds or less.
I don't think so, because I think the Steelers are. They just extended Mike Tomlin, and I don't think they're going to fire him. But if he got free, he'd be the first guy on my list to interview.
Fair enough. Calvin, great stuff. Tell the folks at home where they can find you at on the old X and Twitter.
At Calvin Watkins.
Easy enough, my man. Hey, stay warm out there. Let's do this again real soon.
You guys have a great night.